Welcome to Muddy River News This Week, brought to you by Harvey's Furniture. I am David Adam. I'm the editor here at Muddy River News. And joining me this week is the president of the Quincy Park Board and a local businessman here in Quincy, Jarid Jones. Welcome to our little abode here.
Thank you for having me.
It's always good to see you again.
Always good to see you.
Let's review a little bit about your career, I guess, before we get into the park board. Because
Sure.
the fact is, you're 25 years old. You're kind of a new face in regards to getting involved with the businesses that you have and the activities that you're involved in. Many people out there who may be watching this may be going, who the heck is Jarid Jones?
Yeah.
Give a little bit of a resume plug for yourself here as to what you've done and what you're doing here in Quincy.
Absolutely. So, Quincy stood out to me as a place to really be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish and invest and really see that investment flourish, however you want to be able to, and kind of interject yourself into the community. I've always heard growing up here, oh, there's nothing to do, and Quincy's lame, and yada yada. But really saw that the people who actually took the opportunity to be able to invest in it were the individuals who really enjoyed it the most. And so that's where, kind of in a transitional period of my life. I was 17, I was working for a great guy, and I said, hey, I've learned a lot from you. Here's where where I see my direction going. And so I started a digital advertising agency with a focus on social media. And I was 18, and that was a great opportunity and something that I've been able to carry with me for quite a few years, and be able to work with so many different businesses in order to really see how they succeeded, things that I needed to learn by maybe not necessarily failures, but learning opportunities, right?
I like that. Instead of a failure, it's a learning opportunity.
Every time, and that's the thing is Quincy is very good about showing you what sticks out to them and what really does have a good reach on the community. So
you have your digital marketing, which is
Prestige.
Tell the viewers about the other three businesses that you also have.
Yes. So I also own Quincy Axe Company with my business partner Curtis, and then Just Tasking, which was recently launched at the beginning of this year, which is an infotech company where we connect other entrepreneurs with individuals in the community who have needs,
So I know a little bit about this, but I would like for you, give me an example of what that, someone who needs something and how you can help them.
Absolutely. So say someone, they have furniture in their house that they want to move from one room to another, and they don't have the ability to be able to do so. They don't have the help to be able to do so. They can call on Just Tasking via our portal online, or they can actually call or text us to book, and we'll deploy a tasker and a contractor who wants to work for themselves to say, hey, are you able to help out with this? And they'll show up. It's really cool because they get a complete profile of this individual before they show up, so they know who they're working with. But more than that, it's just a great opportunity to take what I personally have always really enjoyed, which is really marketing the skills of these individuals. And not everyone knows how to do that. How do you begin marketing yourself as someone who wants to work for themselves, create their own schedule, set their rate for how much money they want to make? Awesome. You know what that looks like in your head, but how do you market that?
Right.
So in turn with that great opportunity. And then along with that, my business partner and I also own Experience Quincy, which is it's our building essentially, but it's also a promotion company for what happens in our building and what happens for our tenants. We currently have the Quincy Children's Museum, which is a great, so cool of an opportunity to be able to have them in there in their transitional period, and every day you can hear kids over there, they're running around and stuff. And it's just awesome. And then we have like Crush Salon in the back, and then EFB Coffee as well. And so it's just another tie back into the community of individuals where there's friends down here, and we all really try to work together. And so it's our way of being able to try to continue to help promote.
What made you decide, with all of that stuff that you are working with, plus I know you're involved in other service clubs and other organizations, why run for the park board?
As many times as I have considered that why, it always stood out to me in the way that our parks hold such a such a high value in our community. The things that really draw people and keep people, as far as retaining individuals in the community of things to do, there's nothing to do here. Well, there are,
Right.
you just have to seek those things. The park district, the park system in general, really provides such an opportunity for people to get out, experience nature, experience, creating memories with friends and family, if they're playing disc golf or golfing or whatever it may be, that I wanted to be able to say, hey, I know I'm not going to be able to change the world in my term on the park board or as the president,
Right.
but I will be able to have a voice, and looking at what the future of Quincy could potentially look like within our park system.
So now you get this, you're on the park board.
Yeah.
You show up last Wednesday night, and all of a sudden, you're president.
Yes.
What made you decide that you wanted to throw your hat into the ring for president? Because, and I've told you this myself.
Yeah.
I walked in there that night, and I thought, we got 3 new guys.
Right.
They're just going to learn the ropes. They'll keep things maybe status quo for a year. No, you are the president. Mark Philpott, who is another first-time board member, is the vice president. Why go for it now?
Sure. Yeah. It came at the recommendation from some other members of the board, and I had to sit and think. I had to really think about it. 4 businesses and many other involvement in other organizations. It can be a lot for someone, but I know me, and I know my willingness to be able to invest in something, that when I put my heart into something, it's 110% every time. And while I'm young, which is the kind of standout attribute for things, is I want to be able to continue to show other individuals that, hey, if you want to get involved with something, you can. And whether it's at the level of, the president capacity or a board member or whatever, they're extremely valuable. Everyone is valuable as soon as you sit down at that table and you say, I'm willing to make this investment in this by my time, through so many different aspects, volunteerism, fundraising, et cetera, no matter what it is. I think it's so important to continue to show others that if you want to, you can. It may just take a little bit of extra work or that dedication for time.
So now that you are in the position that you are in, and again, we did talk about this briefly last week, but you can expound upon it a little bit more. You mentioned at the meeting, the riverfront is something that was one of the first things you talked about, that I'm interested in seeing what can be done down there.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the riverfront and any other things that you go, now that I'm actually here and I'm knee deep in it now, what other things do you think of that rise to the top of the list of, I'd like to start looking into this more?
Yeah, so riverfront really comes from a place of that, seeing Quincy evolve.
Right.
I know I can't do everything that I possibly want to, and even by myself, I can't do everything that I would really love to be able to do with riverfront. I just know that the park district and that system really plays a huge role in how riverfront continues to develop. If I'm able to even slightly move that needle forward a little bit, I know that I can rest my head easy at night, knowing that there's a piece of this, and that even after me, someone else will be able to step in and say, hey, I've seen what you were able to do with this investment and what you were, your willingness to be able to help push that needle forward. And I think that's something that if I can kind of set up that path a little bit and open that door just a little bit wider, I think someone else will be right there along with us. And so outside of that, the many a project that the park district and our system really has right now, it's just amazing. It's so cool to see how the trails have expanded, in whether it be walking, whether it be biking, et cetera. It's so cool because that type of entertainment, that type of recreation, that type of X, Y, and Z is what really does keep people in Quincy. It is what really shows people that, hey, this is a place that I'm willing to continue to invest in myself, but I'm also, I can find things to do, and I can do it with people.
Well, there was someone that I met years ago who I worked with, and she was about 24, 25 years old, and after she'd been in Quincy for about a year, she said, I tell my friends back home, Quincy has everything that other larger cities do. It just has one of each.
Exactly.
You don't have to have 4 or 5.
Right.
And so the trails themselves, an improved riverfront and things like that. There was a letter that Mark Philpott, the new vice president, wrote that we published on our website last week, and he wrote one of the lines he said is, fresh blood must be prepared to take the reins.
Yep.
There might be some people who would go, wait a second, your blood's a little too fresh right now.
Sure.
You've only been the sheriff in town for a week now. But when you think about what he said with fresh blood being ready to take the reins, expound upon that a little bit, because the fact is, you've said there are other people like you who might see you in charge and go, gosh, if Jared Jones can do it and he's this young guy, maybe I need to get involved too.
Absolutely. After just beginning to know who Mark is, I can really see that he is someone who wants to, kind of like myself, continue to help people open their eyes to the what ifs. What if I get involved in this? What if I am able to invest in this way? And I really do think that there's always going to be people who I am too young, or I am too whatever, but I really do bring it back to other involvements in the community. And I would certainly encourage people to really look into what that looks like for themselves even. It's not my first rodeo, but it's a different rodeo because it does involve, it's a taxing body, so that's something that I'm not playing with monopoly money, I'm playing with real people money, but it's also not my full decision at the end of the day to say, hey, this is how this is going to go. I have peers, I have colleagues, I have individuals to be able to lean on and say, this is what works for Quincy and this is what doesn't. So I really hope that people will view that and see that Mark very much meant that when you're walking into a situation like this, or it's even good to just have individuals who are willing to get into a position and say, this is fresh eyes, this is new thoughts, new things, because after such a long time of people maintaining their position, there's certainly a certain...
That day's coming for you too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really hope that someone pulls me back and says, hey, let's see what refreshing looks like. That's important, because I kind of tell people, you think your stuff doesn't stink, right? And that's the hardest thing. And even with my clients, it's so hard to pull yourself out of what you love so much and what you've created and take a step back and look at it from a third-party perspective. And I think that's the biggest benefit of what these sort of positions create for the community.
Mark also said, we're going to have to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
Can you give me some examples of the type of out-of-box thinking that you're going, well, maybe we should try? Is it too early to ask that question?
I don't think it's necessarily too early, but to kind of touch on that, I think it is how many individuals and how many partners can we bring along with us? Who haven't we included in the past, and who do we need to include moving forward in order to really think outside the box? Because I'm sure there have been tons of thoughts and tons of opinions which people have and about what should be done, but until you have a collective group of individuals who are able to really come together and say, hey, this is how this could affect us positively, negatively, etc., we don't truly know. So I think looking outside the box is really leaning on those partnerships and saying, hey, here's how we could do something a little different. How does your experience now as a businessman give us an idea of how you will lead the board? Yeah, absolutely. I look at it as a way of something that it has taken me a little bit of time to learn, and I will continue to try to learn as much as I can about leading. Leading and allowing individuals to be who they are and show up to the table and bring their thoughts and bring their opinions, but then sitting back as that third party perspective and saying, hey, here's how we can collectively look at this a little bit differently, and letting people do what they need to do, why they were hired to do so. Not even just as a board member. I know that these individuals have a similar idea of what our mission is, so more or less it's when I say the staff needs to do what they need to do within the park district, it's the same thing that I say within my businesses. people are hired into their roles for a reason, and that's because there's a benefit to what they bring to the table. And it's allowing them to do what they need to do. Not allowing like I'm giving you permission, allowing like take what you need and then call me if you need something, or if I'm able to help you or support you in a different way. Maybe I have a different resource to be able to lean on in order to bring that to the table.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. It's good to see you.
Absolutely.
And best of luck with you in yet another new role for you here
Absolutely.
in Quincy.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it, David.
Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us this week for Muddy River News This Week. You can catch this video and other Muddy River News This Week videos on the Muddy River TV Plus tab at the top of our website.